He was one of the first artists and only artists to show me love.
Anybody ever try to take your chain?
Nah, if they try to take mine, they gonna die like that. They gonna be like that, and they gonna be like, give me that, pow, 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 and they gonna fall like, they gonna die just like that. That's how they die.
You feel like sometimes if an artist gets their chain taken, like, do they want to still wear that chain and get it back?
He'll laugh, man. You know what I'm saying?
Do you still want to wear that chain though once you get it back, or you gotta like trade it in and get something else? Because you might be like, somebody done took it.
I mean, I think you know, people gotta understand, man. At the end of the day, everybody a human being.
This ain't your typical rapper fell-off story. This is about a man who made every single wrong move at every single right moment, and then had to stand in the wreckage wondering how it all came apart. Blac Youngsta, Sammy Benson, South Memphis, born and raised, clawed his way from nothing to millions, built a label imprint, had a whole city behind him, and then watched it all crumble. And the thing that makes his story different is that the downfall wasn't bad albums or streaming numbers. It was tied to loyalty. It was tied to a murder. It was tied to Memphis finally collecting what it was owed. He saw it coming. Every sign was there, and he still walked straight into it. Youngsta started dropping music around 2012. Fast Bricks, Fast Bricks 2, Fast Bricks 3, no label, no cosign, just pure output the way Memphis rappers do, fluting the streets with tape after tape until somebody paid attention. In 2015, he dropped a record called Heavy. Raw, unfiltered, the kind of energy you feel in your chest. Yo Gotti heard it and reached out immediately. Within months, Youngsta was signed to CMG, Collective Music Group, one of the most powerful rap labels out of Memphis. From no budget to signings with the city's biggest name, that's the American Dream Streets Edition. He ran with it, I Swear to God in 2015, Baby Jesus in 2016, consistent, authentic, undeniably South Memphis. By 2017, he'd founded his own imprint, Heavy Camp, under the CMG umbrella. He was building something real. And then a war started brewing. And whether he wanted to or not, Blac Youngsta was about to become the face of one side of it. Young Dolph had been making serious noise since around 2014. Independent, no label, paper route empire, his own movement. Gotti tried to sign him. Dolph said no. That refusal planted a seed of tension that grew into something monstrous. When Dolph released his debut album in 2016 and called it King of Memphis, in the streets that title read like a direct challenge to everything CMG represented, Blac Youngsta stepped forward. On March 2nd, 2016, he posted a video going straight at Dolph, called him soft, questioned his street credibility. Then he physically showed up in Dolph's neighborhood, South Memphis, armed with his crew, filming it like a dare. That ain't internet beef. That's a declaration. His diss track Shake Some followed. Bars about Mac 11s, extended clips, telling Dolph to lay low in his own city. Then February 2017, Dolph was in Charlotte for a performance. His vehicle was hit by gunfire, over 100 rounds. The only reason he survived was because his SUV was bulletproof. Blac Youngsta was arrested in connection with the shooting. 6 felony counts of discharging a weapon into occupied property plus conspiracy. Serious charges. But the Charlotte DA ultimately said there was zero evidence placing Youngsta in the car that did the shooting. He had an alibi. The charges were dropped. He walked. Dolph survived. But the scars from that night, literal and otherwise, never healed. Before any of this reached its conclusion, Youngsta was already collecting his own legal trouble. In 2019, he and 3 others were pulled over and a search turned up 3 pistols and marijuana. He caught a felony possession charge for armor-piercing ammunition. In October 2020, a routine traffic stop in Dallas turned up a handgun in the vehicle. Charged, booked, eventually dismissed in August 2024, but every charge, even the dismissed ones, adds weight to your record and your reputation. Every court date is money spent, focus split, narrative damaged. Then November 17th, 2021, everything changed. Young Dolph walked into Makita's Cookies in his own Memphis neighborhood, a local bakery he supported because he believed in putting money back into the community. 2 men walked in and opened fire. Adolph Thornton Jr. was pronounced dead. He was 36 years old. Hip-hop went into shock. Memphis went into mourning. Dolph wasn't just a rapper. He was a symbol of independence, of authenticity, of staying true to where you came from while never letting the streets define your ceiling. Where was Blac Youngsta? He went quiet for a minute. And then he didn't. Within days of Dolph's murder, Youngsta performed at a concert in Dallas and performed Shake Some, his diss track against the man who had just been shot dead in his own neighborhood. The internet couldn't believe it. Even people who understood Memphis street politics couldn't stomach it. The optics were catastrophic. Then he dropped a video walking through a cemetery, stopping at a gravestone. The name on the stone, Thornton. Young Dolph's government last name, on camera. The backlash was nuclear. Fans, peers, artists across the industry all had something to say. Youngsta went on Instagram and said he came from South Memphis, where there's no sympathy, and he didn't care what the world thought. But fam, there's a difference between being real and being reckless, and in that moment, the line was gone. Rumors spread that CMG had quietly dropped him. Gotti got online and called it fake news, said Youngsta was a boss and couldn't be dropped. He appeared on the CMG compilation in 2022, but the energy had shifted. Even if the paperwork said he was still on the roster, the momentum, the goodwill, the cultural standing, all of it had been spent. Then the murder trial revealed what had been underneath the surface the whole time. 3 men were charged with Dolph's murder: Cornelius Smith Jr., Justin Johnson, and Hernandez Gone. Gone was a CMG associate, someone tied directly to the label's ecosystem. In September 2024, Smith took the stand and confessed. He testified that Big Juke, Anthony Mimsom's, Yo Gotti's brother, had placed a $100,000 bounty on Dolph's head, that he and Johnson had stalked Dolph for days, waiting for the right moment. When they caught him at the cookie shop, they opened fire. "I wasn't feeling nothing at the time," Smith said. "I was just trying to get some money." Johnson was convicted and sentenced to life. Gone went to trial in 2025 and was acquitted, a verdict that shook Memphis and sent waves through the culture. Youngsta was never charged in connection with the 2021 murder. That needs to be stated plainly. But the streets don't operate on indictments. They operate on proximity, on association, on who was in what room and what role they played. And Youngsta had been the most visible soldier in the CMG Dolph war for years. When the full picture emerged, his name was attached to the shadow of it, whether he wanted it or not. While all of this was unfolding, Memphis kept taking. On August 18, 2023, at a BP gas station on South Parkway East, a man was shot and killed. The victim was Youngsta's brother. This was not the first sibling he had lost to the streets of Memphis. Multiple brothers, taken by the same environment he had spent his career representing. The irony was brutal. He had spent years being the loudest voice in a beef that ended in murder. He had walked through a dead man's cemetery on camera. And while he was doing all of that, his own family was being taken by those same streets. People showed up to posts about his brother's death with Dolph emojis in the comments. That's how depleted the goodwill had become. Even in his most vulnerable moment, a portion of the public couldn't extend basic human empathy. That's the price of the narrative he built. Then came the timing that said everything without saying a word. Days before the Hernandez Gone murder trial was set to begin in 2025, Blac Youngsta publicly announced he was no longer with CMG. Not in a quiet off-season moment. Right before the most explosive trial connected to his circle was about to put CMG, Big Juke, and the Dolph beef back into every headline. That's not a coincidence. That's a man reading the room and creating distance before the cameras turned back on. Here's the real story underneath the story. Youngsta was a soldier who was too good at his job. In the CMG structure, his role was always the enforcer, the one willing to step out front, drop the diss tracks, show up armed in enemy territory, absorb the arrests. While he was doing all of that, CMG prospered. Gotti built an empire. Moneybagg Yo became one of rap's biggest stars. Glorilla emerged. The label became a powerhouse. And none of the artists who became the face of that powerhouse were the ones in the crosshairs of the Dolph beef. That was Youngsta. He took every risk. He absorbed every consequence. And when the cultural reckoning arrived, he was left standing on shaking ground alone. He came from the absolute bottom. The talent was real. The grind was undeniable. But somewhere between his rise and his fall, all of that got swallowed by a war that was never really his to fight, and a loyalty that was never going to be fully returned. In this game, the biggest threat to your legacy is almost never your enemies. It's the choices you make when you think nobody's keeping score. The streets were keeping score the whole time. Drop your thoughts below. Is there a version of this story where Blac Youngsta rebuilds, or is the chapter closed for good?